Hello, I'm Lee Cox. I'm the very proud executive director of Alton Little Theater, and today I am so fortunate to be visiting with playwright Michael Madden, who flew in last night so he could be here for the opening night of his play, Red Jasper. Welcome.
I am beyond, I could go through a thesaurus and look for words that are beyond excited, and I couldn't find enough of them. I love Alton Little Theater. Alton Little Theater, of course, did a play of mine 5 years ago. I fell in love with the theater. I fell in love with you, fell in love with the people that run this place. I'm thrilled to be back. I'm from St. Louis, so I have many family and friends across the river, and I love coming to some place that I think is really convenient to St. Louis. So I'm thrilled to be here, and I know your sensibilities and the emotion that you guys produce plays with, and this play is very emotional. It's very heartfelt for me. And so I thought it was a perfect place to bring it to.
Well, and you know that the studio series, this is the first ever studio series, and we're producing 3 shows over 3 consecutive weekends.
I don't know how you're doing it. I don't know how you're doing it logistically.
16 actors who are good friends of mine, or they were good friends of mine, are doing 20 roles. And
these are actors that are in rehearsal, and while they're in rehearsal for something, they're studying the lines for one or 2 other shows, and how they're able to compartmentalize that and still bring it off is pretty extraordinary. It's really extraordinary to be able to do that.
But they love this script, and good actors, you know, they're attracted to certain themes, but I don't think any of them really knew the shows that well, but the idea of being able to do a little more serious work and work that was already acclaimed by other theaters and other people. And so we knew that we'd attract new audiences, or that was our hope. Our season ticket holders, older, a little bit afraid of the weather sometimes, or, you know, the cold, those kinds of things, or they don't want to be depressed. But I've tried to stress that they're going to feel so good and share this and laugh and have hope and recognize people they know, that they're really going to have an enjoyable evening of theater.
And that was the experience. It ran for a month in San Diego, and every night, literally after every performance, multiple people would come up to me or the actors and say, I wish I would have seen this before. I wish my aunt or grandma or mother or whatever who had cancer would have seen it before. This play left me with a lot of hope for things. I'm going to go home right now and call my daughter, who I haven't spoken to in a while, because there's stuff about the strange stuff between parents and children. There's stuff about Alzheimer's. There's stuff about cancer. Everybody has been touched by some of these things, and it's not quite a blueprint on how to act, but it kind of is in a way on things to say and not to say, things to do and not to do. Sometimes when you see somebody on a stage, it's what good art does. If somebody on a stage or in a movie is doing something and you don't realize you're doing it, but you see somebody else doing it that way, you go, oh, is that what I'm doing? Or do I look like that? And it can be really informative. And that's what we've heard time and time again, that people, well-intentioned people who are caregivers or who perceive themselves as caregivers, who perceive themselves as good caregivers, are not good caregivers because they're not doing the right thing and they just don't know what to do.
And they're almost falling over themselves trying to do the right
and the person they're giving care to is like, could you not come so often because you're not helping, you know? And so I think this play helps a lot in that regard. And, you know, but the other thing is that I grew up, you know, watching in St. Louis, down in the basement, watching Falstaff first run theater, watching Spencer Tracy and Katharine Hepburn fall in love, and everybody in our family crying. And I grew up, that's the stuff I love the most. So the fact that this is a love story, and a really sweet love story between people older, and, you know, I was married before and to a lovely person that didn't work out, and then I'm married now to somebody that I met 10 years ago. And when you fall in love later in life, you usually fall in love being kind of your authentic self. You're like, you're to the point where, like, I'm not going to be somebody I'm not. I don't want to have to fake it anymore. And when you fall in love with somebody like that, you really fall in love deeper, because you are being yourself and you get to each other's core much faster. And I think this play shows that. And I think it's a beautiful, beautiful love story. And any romantic out there will love that part of it.
Yes, and that's probably my favorite theme is that even as Izzy, the title character, is going through chemo, she is her authentic self, and they fall in love pretty quickly because they recognize kindred souls in each other, and I just love their romance. I just think it's the most charming thing. So one minute I'm laughing, and then I'm smiling, and then I shed a few tears when I watch it, and that happens
Well, I
every
think
night.
it's really interesting, and young people see anybody that's older than 40 as old, and so we're almost dying. These people have libidos, they have love, they can have this possibilities, but I think it's really fun to watch older people, whatever that means, be 18 and flirt and be shy and be worried about rejection and all these things that you have to be brave to be in love. You have to throw yourself out there, and to see. When you're older, you're more likely to do it because life is short, and you say, I don't want to waste this opportunity, or at least hopefully you do. So I think that's fun to watch two older people suddenly look younger and act younger when they're together, and when they are trying to fall in love, or when they're fighting, and it's boy meets girl, boy likes girl, boy hates girl, girl hates boy. I mean, it's the classic rom-com love, but it's encompassed with this very serious stuff about living and dying, and so I think that's a combination that I love. I love the way it was received. It's received really, really well in the cancer community in San Diego. They were there every night and loved it and laughed the hardest at the stuff that they recognized in their own situation. So I hope people here brave the supposedly horrible weather, which is
not so
horrible because it's an inside theater, people. It's not outside.
Right around the corner.
And they paid their heating bill, so it's okay. And the seats are really comfortable. You sit really close to the theater. You have really good actors, and it's $10. So it's like, I don't know, you pull yourself off that couch, put the remote down, put your phone down, and come and be entertained for an hour and a half. Learn something, be reminded about your life and what's important in life to know, and what's important to feel.
And I think for the couple, they get that we don't want to waste time here and dance around things. They talk about real things, and then they realize we want to be together even if our life isn't perfect right now. It gets more perfect than being together. And I think people will really enjoy that. We need to live as long as we can.
Yeah, and live while you're living.
Yeah, and not think about death and all the problems in the world.
Yeah, and I do some hospice work in San Diego and have for quite a while, and people always would say, well, isn't it sad being around people that are dying? And I'm going, no. Because they know they're dying. They're the most pragmatic people. Sometimes you're the only person that can talk to them or will talk to them about their death, because everybody's like, oh, you're going to be fine. You're going to be fine. Well, no, I'm not. I'm going to be dying. And so, the people here are very realistic about that. And, I'm glad that people are upfront about it when they're in that position. But a lot of times people around them are so insufferably positive about you're going to be okay, that these people can't talk about what's going to happen when I die, what's going to happen to me.
Yes.
Is it going to be the way my priest or minister or rabbi said it was going to be, or is it going to be something else? Or I'm a little bit afraid, I'm a little bit excited, I'm a little bit just confused, So I think that addresses a lot of that stuff too. Nobody knows what's going to happen. Everybody thinks they kind of do, and that they're entitled to their own feelings about it. But all of that's kind of addressed too in the play.
And it is. And in fact, the nurse, I think, says, she has a line like, nobody's ever talked about the afterlife. And everybody wants to know and wants to express what their fears are, what their hope is, but it has to be a safe place to say that, because it makes people uncomfortable if you say, yeah, I have a very serious condition and I could die from it. Yeah. And then they're like, oh, well, I'll send a casserole.
Like you're going to catch it.
Yeah. So I just love the relationships that are in the script, and they're beautiful.
Yeah. And my favorite thing is that as a person that did some acting, it's a great actor's role. There's a lot of good acting roles because, like I said, when they get done with the play and go outside, and all the people that are there to well wish them and stuff, they are constantly reminded about how they moved that person. An individual person will come up and say, oh my God, the way you portrayed the daughter, it just made me miss my daughter. I'm going to call her. And that's why actors do that. Actors do that kind of stuff. I mean, they want recognition. They want people to say, hey, whatever. But they also want to make a difference. And so often actors don't feel like they make a difference because nobody says anything to them. But in this play, afterwards, people say stuff to them. And I think that's going to be a really fun thing for them to have people moved by their performance, because when you move people, you know you did a good job. And because it's so arbitrary and subjective about did they do a good job. You can talk to 5 people, one person did a role and they did that role, and 5 different people have 5 different ideas about how well it was or how well it wasn't done. So I think they'll get a lot of positive reinforcement from it.
But a frequent question I got is, what does Red Jasper mean? And of course, you know, once they were cast in the show, they know, but they've laughed too and said, oh, the cast has gotten that question. And so how did you come up with the title?
Well, when people ask me that, it's the reveal is in the second half of the show. So at intermission, people come up and say, well, I still don't get the Red Jasper. I go, just be patient, follow the plot, you'll get it, and it will mean something, and it will resonate with you. So I don't necessarily want to give it exactly away, but it's about, you know, it's a gift. It's a gift somebody gives,
Yes.
and it's a gift with meaning, and it's a gift with meaning about living and dying. It's a gift with meaning about love, and it comes up a couple different times during the performance, where the audience gets to have that. Ah, yeah. Like you get to feel smart for remembering it from a previous scene, you know, and it makes you feel like you're part of the play more because you're following along with the narrative of the play. I love the idea of it. I love that a stone encapsulates so much of the meaning of the play. And I don't even remember how I came up with it. It just came to me one day in a flash. I was looking for something for him to give to her. And then I wanted it to be portable and observable from the audience. And all of a sudden, it just all came together. And it makes sense in the play.
It does.
It makes sense in the play.
And it's garnered some interest. In fact, when I was talking to the Ribbons of Strength coordinator, and they have a healing garden, which we contributed to before, and, you know, we're giving part of the ticket proceeds to. I asked her if she knew what it was, and she goes, no, I probably should know what it is. I said, well, you got to come see the show because you really will want to know what it is. And we actually have a store in the Mineral Springs, which is downtown. And I went in thinking it was going to be a long shot that I was ever going to find Red Jasper. And they said, oh, no, we have a whole collection in the back. You're the first person who's ever asked for it. But seriously.
Wow.
So, of course, my husband said, oh, great, she's going to buy the store now. But I was like, this is beautiful.
Well, you know, when people have cancer and they get treatment and it works, sometimes it doesn't work. One of the things we bring up in the play is that when you have cancer and somebody finds out you have cancer, you are bombarded with people going, oh my God, you got to read this book. You got to see this, listen to this podcast. You got to drink this, you know, beaver urine. You know, I mean, there's this whole wide array of things out there that people have gotten healed with, you know, for a variety of valid physiological and psychological reasons. So there's all these different ways that people have embraced that they felt were a substantial part of their healing.
Yes.
And, you know, stones are some of them, and, you know, watching funny movies are some of them. You know, that increases your T-cell count, which increases your immunity. I mean, there's a whole variety of ways out there to make your immune system stronger that are all easy to do, and you don't need to take them in a pill form. You know, you can just be positive and read and be around positive people. And, you know, I think when they've done studies and they show T-cell counts, which are the basis of immunity, how easily they can be improved with hopeful stuff, with prayer, with, you know, well wishes, with
being loving with someone.
Yeah. And so it's anyway. So Red Jasper is kind of an offshoot of that.
Well, I love it. I've fallen in love with the play and the Stones, and it's at least a beginning talking place. I think that's something tangible because some people have difficult talking about their feelings, or even if they get emotional, I'm like, it's okay. And I've told people every night, I laugh, I smile, I tear up. All of those things happen in this short period of time, and I've seen the play a few times now.
The play ran for a month in San Diego, and we had a number of people see it repeatedly. And when people came back the second time, not third, a couple of people saw it 3 times, but when people came back for the second time, they sought me out and said, I just want to tell you, after the play, I went and did this. I went and talked to this person. Or I came to the play with my daughter, and on the way home, we talked about this.
Yes.
That's really what you want. You want
Yes.
people to take it home with them and tell people, like when somebody says, how was the play? You don't want them just to say it was good. You want them to say, I really enjoyed it, but by the way, or, the next time this happens or something, that's what you want. Or I've been wanting to say this a long time. That's really what you want in any art. You want art to stimulate thought and change and stuff.
I'm thinking about it. It touched me. It made me think of, and definitely I know the cast has even grown. Yes, they've been trying to just study the lines, but now they're revealing more every night, a little personal information that's very important sometimes for, the artistic director or the director to know, because it helps me even if I'm directing. And Brant is, jumped in for me with this one, but it's wonderful to get to know those layers of people, even performers.
The woman that played Izzy, who's the main character, Isadora, we call her Izzy, she had lost a person to cancer, a close friend, and of course she just really brought that home to her performance. And then there was a day that her friend's family came, and I was worried that she was going to have a hard time, but she gave the best performance she gave. And at the end, she was outside, and the whole family was crying and hugging, and it was really great. I mean, it sounds sad, but it wasn't sad. It was really cathartic, and everybody felt better afterwards. They all had a good cry about it. They enjoyed it. They reminded each other of how much they loved each other. And the woman that played the character, she says, I'm going to bring this with me every night now. What I brought tonight for you guys, I'm going to tap into that every night. And she did. It was just, her performance just got better and better and better.
Well, and Pam Boker, who plays Izzy, I done a show with her, and during that show, I know she won't mind my sharing, she shattered her skull 5 years ago. And she really thought it was the end. She
shattered what?
Her skull.
Oh my God.
She was in a terrible accident. Like both of us have had those kinds of accidents. And for her, she said, coming back and just embracing how close I thought I was coming to death made me, I only want to do important things. I want to do plays that are worthwhile. I only want to have friends that I really, really like these people.
That's a really big one.
And she makes no nonsense. I don't have time for any of that other stuff. So I was thrilled when she said yes.
I think we all have people in our lives who are friends who really, they're not really friends. They never inquire about your life or what's going on or how you're doing. If they do, they'll say, how are you doing? And then they'll cut you off and talk for 20 minutes how they're doing, And when I met my wife, she had a couple of people like that in her life. And my wife is the sweetest person ever. And I said, Ann, these are like millstones around your neck. Why are you with them? She goes, well, I've known them for a long time. And I said, but
I want to be nice.
Yeah,
she's so nice.
They didn't. I sat there for an hour. They didn't say one thing about you. You've done this and this and this and this in the last month. You're incredibly interesting. You've traveled. You've done this stuff. They don't even know that. They're still talking about, I don't know, that they dropped their honey on the floor or something, And and so luckily we've weeded some of those people out. And I think when you do come near death, you say, I'm not going to waste my time on people that I no longer want to waste my time on, and I think that's a good message for anybody to have.
Absolutely. And yes, your wife is lovely and fascinating and has done all kinds of things. So
and normally she goes to my play and she'll go a couple times and that's it. She went to every performance. She's come to every performance. And I told her, I said, because she's got family and friends in St. Louis too. And I said, look, you don't have to go there. She goes, no, I want to go every night. She goes, I just love watching the audience. I love watching the audience get it. And I love those points in the show that are really funny, that people are they're such a relief to allowed to laugh and laugh really hard because they've just been through the emotional ringer. And now you've given them this funny thing that they really can let go on. So she looks forward to that every night.
I'm so glad, because I remember she came a couple of times to maybe this time, and then we all went to Applebee's. And of course, theater people, we all talk, we're animated. And she was just very quiet.
Yeah, well, she's kind of used to that.
But I got to see her a little bit when I was out in San Diego. So
yeah.
That was great.
Well, theater people are like that. You're trapped in this role saying words all night. And then it's such a relief when you're done. Like you got through another night and things happen on stage that the audience is completely oblivious to. But everybody on the stage knew what line was dropped or what wasn't picked up or what prop wasn't there or whatever. And you end up talking about it excitedly like it's a big deal because you're the only person you can share that with. You can go home to your spouse and say, oh my God,
the phone wasn't there.
The phone wasn't there. And they go, oh, okay. That sounds like a horrible problem. But no, but you don't understand. The phone was central to that scene and there was nothing. Anyway, everybody on stage knows it. So I love theater people. I love the camaraderie that happens from people being in a play and being with each other for a couple months. They're giving up. Everybody's doing it for the same good reason usually. And those people the rest of your life. And you can see them years later and you can go up and hug them like you saw them yesterday. I do love that about plays more than movies. In movies, you can not even see people that were in your movie. You don't even know them because
you got hired for this scene.
Yeah, and it's not shot in order and everything. Yeah. Whereas a play, their whole narrative is linear and it's just easier to follow. And I love being around theater people that care. I really do. And that's the only experience I've had with your theater is that it's like that. Not to mention the fact that you're donating a bunch of money to incredible causes. I grew up in St. Louis and went to high school, and sports are big in the Midwest. And when school budgets are cut, it's usually the arts,
yes,
the teachers, and the stuff that they have to be artistic and creative with. So some of the money is going to Alton High School Drama Department to help them. Some of the money is going to Ribbon Strength, which is a cancer organization that deals with the practical aspects. When people have cancer, a lot of times they have to quit their job. They don't have the money. This helps pay for transportation to and from therapy. It helps supplant their rent or their utility bills or whatever. And the last one is the Treehouse Wildlife Refuge in Dow, which is 8.5 beautiful acres that takes care of abandoned and injured wildlife because, people take care of their dogs and cats, but, people that are animal people, they love animals. And these poor animals out in the wild, they are left to just kind of die on their own. And, my wife works at a wildlife rescue place in San Diego, and, people are bringing in, pigeons and raccoons and all this stuff, and, they get fixed up and sent back out again into the wild. Anyway, 3 really beautiful organizations for animals, children, and adults. And I love the fact you guys are doing that. So it's another reason.
Well, I think it was important because, we all are coming back after COVID, and so many theaters didn't make it. We were fortunate to have our own building, and we've even been able to remodel. But our community has been hurting a lot. And I know the nonprofits because I go to all the networking events. They've really been hurting. So even the little bit, if I can encourage other people to give and support or even know. I know so many people didn't even know about the wildlife rescue. And even though Kelly, the director, is just incredible and she helps out anytime somebody needs something. So I was like, it's time we try and give something back.
Yeah, when I'm from San Diego now. I was born and raised in St. Louis, but San Diego is a big town, and when I come to Alton, it's this quintessential small town where, you know, everybody knows who you are. Oh, Lee, yeah, you know, people wave each other on the street, and you know, there's this cross-pollination in a small town, incestuous cross-pollination, that everybody knows each other's business, and I think it's really comforting and homey, and if they accept you, which hopefully people do, in a small town, it's the quintessential idea of a community, you know, where people help each other out, know each other, and are there for each other. And I think hopefully some of the stuff in the play is about being there for each other, and I hope it manifests that as well.
I do too, and I hope they all come out the next 4 days, performances on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday at 7:30, and then 2 p.m. on Sunday. And I know they'll enjoy it. I know they'll love talking and meeting you and have a really great night of theater if they come to the show.
There's going to be a question and answer after every show. And I know whenever I see something, I always think, I wonder why they did that, or wonder what he meant, or wonder what the writer meant when they do that, or why did that person move over there, or what was the actor thinking when they did that, or did they make that up on their own, or whatever. And this is the perfect time to ask the questions of the actors and the writer, and what did you do?
The actors are so glad you're here, though, because as they said, we're used to being given lines. What do you mean I have to answer a question? I'm like, just be yourself. Just do
and
that.
the questions are usually about something you know, like something you did or you felt, which is easy for an actor to talk about how they feel.
Yes.
We're such feeling people, you know.
We are.
Oh my God, we're so dramatic, so dramatic. Anyway, so I'm looking forward to that part of it too, and I'm looking forward to just be back in town, baby.
Well, Michael, thank you so much for being here.
I loved
for
every
our performance.
millisecond of it, Lee Cox, as I'm sure everybody does that's in your presence.
Oh, well, you're very kind. And I'm glad you're here. You are the only living playwright in the studio series. So
not sure if is that a compliment, or
that's
is
a compliment.
Yeah, okay,
you're still working.
It beats the alternative. Yeah, I'm still up
alternative.
above the ground. Yes,
yeah.
yes.
And
hopefully for many more years
the performers will love you being here, and I know the audience will enjoy meeting you as well.
I hope, and I know I'll enjoy meeting them.
Yeah.